UK versus US culture explained. So most people know about the super close relationship between the UK and the US. You know, there was the War for Independence, you know, the burning down of the White House. But, you know, despite all of that stuff happening, because a lot of the people that settled into America, you know, their roots, your roots potentially, like if you're from America watching this, you know, come from the UK, there's a super tight relationship, which leads to like a lot of similarities in terms of the culture. But like from visiting America a few times now, I've noticed that despite the, you know, the really like nice relationship we have between us, there are like quite a few differences in terms of like, you know, how you guys live versus how we live. And obviously, like, I know a few of them now, but there's tons and tons of them that I'm still not yet aware of.
Britain and America are like twins separated from birth. One was raised in fine aristocracy, and the other was abandoned at a gas station and told, good luck. These two great nations have dominated the world both economically, militarily, and culturally.
Everyone in Britain got in a big old boat, and we set sail, and we robbed, and this will sound far-fetched, everyone in the world.
Whilst having spawned from the same origins, they went off in their own two directions, becoming both very similar and very different.
Yo, we all are great. We all should think that we're great. There's no reason for you to not think that you're great.
I've started to get this feeling that I'm totally fucked. You know, everything's fucked.
Today, we will analyse...
That's one thing, a key difference. Like, Americans seem to have, like, an optimism, you know, a sort of, like, can-do attitude that a lot of Brits, unfortunately, don't have. I don't know why that is.
American versus British culture.
The American comic hero is a wisecracker who is above his material and who is above the idiots around him. You know that scene in Animal House where there's a fellow playing folk music on a guitar? John Belushi picks up the guitar and destroys it. And the cinema will laugh because he just smashes it and then waggles his eyebrows at the camera. And everyone says, God, he's so great. Well, a British comedian would want to play the folk singer.
Yeah.
Comedy is a great way of revealing a culture's ideas. So American comedy and British comedy, they're very different. American comedies always tend to be built around the idea of like optimism and positivity.
Be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah, this is a big one.
I like that.
There's typically always the notion that things can get better. You can see this in the character Leslie Knope in Parks and Recs.
I can do it. I can crush him. I promise.
And typically, in an American comedy, the cool guy is the main character.
So you know how to take the reservation, you just don't know how to hold the reservation.
Now, let's compare that to British comedies. Typically, the idea in a British comedy is that life will always disappoint you.
We need to have a talk.
You finishing with me?
We weren't ever really.
Oh.
I see you not around, but here.
See you.
Secondly, you'll never make it in life. All your dreams and hopes and optimism is ultimately futile.
I have this dream. You and I own this skyscraper office block on the South Bank. And above us, on top of the skyscraper, in 50-foot-high neon lettering, are the initials of Trotters, independent traders.
Just above your heading is the word tit.
Another idea that is shown is that you can always expect the worst thing to happen.
Yeah, man, honestly, like, Americans watching this, you might be scratching your head thinking, but why are you so pessimistic? It's almost like, you know, if you are seen in the UK to be wanting to like progress, do well, you know, you're almost seen as like you're going above your station in a way. Almost like, why are you trying to be better than me? It's kind of frowned upon in social groups. It's weird, like it's very strange.
Yeah. Right, thank you very much. Do you like it? Oh, so I put that on you.
Brilliant. Do you want another beer?
Was that my beer?
Yeah.
What?
Do you want me to get you?
Yes.
And finally, the main character, the point of focus in a British comedy will typically be some awkward loser.
I like your glasses.
I'm afraid they're not for sale.
Oh. Laugh all you want, they're not for sale.
So this leads us to our first key cultural difference. And that is American idealism versus British realism. Instead of me telling you this, I'm going to show you it through expressions. Americans will say things like this. Well, you know what they say. The sky's the limits. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Whereas in Britain, we'll say things like, got hope for the best, but expect the worst, mate. We literally have a thing called sod's law. What can go wrong will go wrong. And then let's say you have a situation where something is looking good. You've got an opportunity. Americans will say, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Whereas we'll literally say, well, old boy, don't count your chickens before they hatch. And then finally, if you're in America and your whole life is going terribly, it's looking awful, Americans say, well, it's always darkest before dawn. In England, if everything's going well, we'll say, yeah, mate, but this is just the calm before the storm. So you might be wondering,
do you think this might be because England used to be this massive superpower? Like, you know, I think the British Empire had like a third of the planet or something like that at one point. And obviously over the years, you know, the UK's influence has shrunken quite a lot versus America, who just continue to, like, in terms of cultural influence, economic, it just continues to sort of get bigger and bigger. Maybe that's like a reason for it.
Wondering why? Why do we have these very distinct attitude differences? Before we go any further with this video, cold turkey might be great on sandwiches, but there's a better way to break your bad habits. We're talking about...
Now stand aside, worthy adversary. 'Tis but a scratch.
A lot of the British attitude can really be pointed to our very long and brutal history. We've had tons of wars and plagues and religious upheavals. All of these things have kind of led to British people sort of having doubt and distrust into the future. Like, yeah, it might be going well now, but tomorrow a swarm of Belgians might come over and behead us. Understanding our history gives us this cautiousness to being too optimistic about the future. As well, you have to combine the religious attitudes of the Church of England. The Church of England was very much a believer in the idea of original sin. The idea that humans have fallen from God, we're all inherently bad, although we do have the ability to be somewhat redeemed. This has engineered a sort of attitude of cautious optimism. We're not entirely 100% pessimists. All of this combined with the fact that our weather is pretty shit.
Rain, rain, rain. Us Brits endure it on 199 days of every year.
You could literally have a week of sunshine in England and think, you know what, this Saturday, let's go for a picnic with the family. And then because your dad showed some optimism in the weather, God will smite you with a torrential downpour for the next month.
We're here at Barry Island Beach, and there's no sign of stop.
Oh,
so this general
God. Did you see that? A fish.
You can be completely contrasted with American optimism. And that stems from, ultimately, if you're the type of person to leave Britain, a established nation that has infrastructure, etc., hop on a boat, travel for weeks, months across uncharted waters to arrive on uncharted lands, to do that, you need at least an ounce of optimism.
Yes, that's a great point. The very nature of the people that left the UK to, find better fortunes abroad, probably goes through the generations, doesn't it? Like, if you had like an optimistic dad and mum, you'll probably have like an optimistic mindset yourself, and you'll pass that on to your kids and their kids. And yeah.
Look, water, lands in the distance, see? Mate, you've been saying that for the last 3 fucking icebergs. Oh, look, yeah, look, can you see it? Another fucking iceberg. I'm tired of this. And then so after discovering this new land, which was a crazy thing to go and do, America then went through 2 great awakenings. I don't know what happened in the first one, if they just hit snooze or something, but the first great awakening was in 1730 to 1740, and then the second one in 1795 all the way up to 1835. So what happened in this was that the religious attitudes of America had evolved. New ideas around like self-improvement, the idea that everyone has the ability to shape their own destiny and their own future. Humans can be better, they can improve society, they can make and create things that make the world better.
Everybody, I know you can believe in yourself.
They had strong convictions around the importance of working hard, as well as very pragmatic attitudes, the idea that things should be done well and efficiently. These last two led to a very strong cultural focus on capitalism and efficiency in business, which all of this manifested itself in the idea of the American dream.
Ah, yes, of course.
The American dream is just the ability to achieve. Anybody can do it, but you're not just gonna get it because you want it. You gotta be willing to work hard. You gotta apply a lot of hard work. You gotta apply faith. You gotta apply persistence. You've gotta never, ever give up.
So basically, the idea...
Man, yeah, that's a big one. I can't believe I didn't remember that one. The American dream. There's no UK equivalent to the American dream. I think the closest thing we have is like stiff upper lip, you know, just being resilient, like stiff upper lip, like just getting down and doing what you need to do, like not letting it get to you. But that's not really the same as the American dream, is it? Like the American dream is like more about achievement and making your dreams a reality.
The idea of the American dream is that any old piece of shit, old Bob who still lives at home with his parents, 40 years old, anyone can go and do anything they want to in life.
That Americans are told they can become the next president of the United States. And they can. British people are told it won't happen to you. And they carry that. They carry that with them.
I know what's probably going through your head. You might hear that and think, fucking hell, why are Britons so pessimistic? I mean, we literally had the biggest empire on earth. Why are we so deflated? And so that leads us to a very core cultural difference between England and America, and that is class structure.
I was brought up in a poor family, you know. Really, we had nothing, really. If I could get in a position that some of them people in, I would like to be in it. These lords or ladies or peers, or you're talking about them class of people.
The Curzons family started with William the Conqueror.
In Britain, the idea of class and where you stand socially has been a very core part of our identity. Until very recently, as a Brit, your whole life was decided before you were born. These differences between the upper class and the working class has existed through most of British history. There's like this idea that the upper class are pure blood. They were like chosen by God. They had divine rights. They literally referred to themselves as blue-blooded. And they were much better than the grunts working the coal mines to power their beautiful machinery. And so there's always been this attitude in England of like judgment between the classes. The upper class and the working class hate each other. And
I do think, though, that this has changed a lot in the last... kind of since the internet has become, you know, commonplace. Like, you've got people starting businesses like in typically working class jobs, like being a plumber and becoming multi-millionaires. So it's definitely shifting. But yeah, the class system here in the UK is really like, it's really imposing. The whole, you know, middle class, upper class, working class. It's still quite a big thing here, unfortunately.
class is interesting because it's not just defined by wealth.
We give dinner parties 2 or 3 times a week. This enables us to keep in touch with our wide circle of friends.
We give a wine and cheese do once a month. This enables us to do it on the cheap.
Her mother comes round Saturday nights and drinks my Guinness. This enables her to get drunk for nothing.
Class is much deeper than simply wealth. It's the accent you talk in, the way you behave, the schools that you're educated in. If you're from Cambridge School of Witchcraft and Wizardry versus the community college in Shitham, literally everything you did would be defined by class.
I think working class people in general feel this kind of thing weighing down upon them, and I can't put it into words of what it is, but I think people watching this will understand that you feel it pushing you down all the time.
And so there's this understanding that there isn't much class mobility. If you are lower class, even if you got wealthy, you could never be upper class. There's no way. And so this kind of demoralization spawned a attitude in British people that things can't really get that much better. I'm always going to be judged from basically the background that I'm from. In America, as I explained with the American Dream, the attitude is that anyone can be anything.
Yes.
Americans love the idea of the rags to riches story, the underdog archetype that you see in films like Pursuit of Happiness or The Founder. Class does exist in America, but it is very different. You're probably going to see more things between North and South divides and racial divides. But I do, as a British person, quickly want to make a caveat. The British people have never had like outright defeatism. British people will try in life. They'll try very hard, but we just don't like to get our hopes up. We are optimistic, but just in a very cautious way. Like, Americans might aspire to be a millionaire CEO of a big tech startup, whilst British people will aspire to one day shop at Waitrose.
My wife likes to shop at Waitrose. It's the middle class option. People who shop at Waitrose, they like to drop it into conversations. You know, sorry I'm late, I was just at Waitrose! Just there.
So the explanation...
Waitrose is basically like, I'm trying to think of what the US equivalent. Whole Foods? Or what's like the posh, bougie grocery store? Whatever that is what Waitrose is here in the UK. Here in the UK, you've got Waitrose and Marks and Spencer. Underneath that, you've then got Tesco and Sainsbury's. Underneath that, you've then got Aldi, Lidl, Morrison's. And then underneath that, you've got like going to the market. So yeah, I think, so Waitrose is like the top tier grocery store.
On the class system leads us to another point, which is politeness and expressiveness. Here's your food, good sir. What the fuck is that? Everything okay with the food? Oh yes, lovely, thank you. I would say British people are kind of overly aware of being rude and impolite, which has some benefits. You know, we treat people really well. We hate to be awkward and we like people to feel relaxed. But it can cause British people to take way too much shit and not stand up for themselves.
Turn the other cheek.
What the I slapped you and you want me to hit you on the other cheek?
Americans will tolerate less bullshit, which is a good thing, but then sometimes they can be a bit rude and a bit overly confrontational. I have waited exactly 5 minutes. It is a Big Mac. How long do you need? This difference when it comes to being polite probably stems from the British Reserve and American individualism. British people are very reserved. Typically, in public, we all sit like this, and we're all very quiet, and we don't laugh too loud, and we try and be really polite. And this can stem from the Victorian era. There was very strict social rules over behaviour, dress, the way you express yourself. It was very stern and rigid. The reason we tolerate so much shit is because we have the religious idea of turning the other cheek.
And the societal pressure as well is another thing. If you're seen to be rude, because everybody like from school is brought up in this sort of way, at least most people are. Obviously, there's always going to be like rude exceptions. If you are then the rude one, you almost get like ostracized and like labeled as crazy or something like that. So because everyone else behaves this way, growing up as a kid, you just end up like that as well.
Well, our probably over-awareness of people's personal space and being rude can probably stem from the fact that we live on a small island very closely together. We don't have a lot of space and we're all on top of each other. So we have a strong respect for people's personal space.
Okay.
And then like some of it is the fact that the upper class social attitudes probably trickled down to the working class, where it's always seen as being a lower class thing to speak loudly and have bad manners and be overly confrontational.
Can you come back in, please?
Oh my God, this is well harassment. I'm going to take this to the Court of European Rights.
And so, British people have the attitude of a stiff upper lip, don't show emotion, and don't complain about your problems.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
Well, that was fucking scary.
Whereas American...
That perfectly describes the average Brit. Guy's he's in a crash, and he's like, oh... that was slightly inconvenient.
That is not the case.
All right, what country are we in? In the United States. You're goddamn right. You can't take a picture here. Okay, First Amendment. Get back over there.
I have a right to speak. I have a right to speak.
Deal with that.
This is my right as much as it is yours. This is my land as much as it is yours.
To Americans, I am important. I am the center of the universe. After the Great Awakening, there was a strong focus on individualism. Emotionality and expression is a good thing. Being outgoing and extroverted is a very American thing. British people, are very introverted. Americans, after things like the Bill of Rights, have a strong focus on their personal rights and freedoms and liberty. In America, all men are created equal, and so they don't have this idea that you're better than me or I'm better than you by birthright. We're all humans, we all exist, and we all deserve respect. And so this leads to politics and the attitude toward authority.
Although it does seem like with the sort of new billionaire class that you see in America, I hope that America doesn't end up having some sort of class system like there is in the UK, where you've got the ultra wealthy elites, and then, you know, and with the money they have, they're going to have access to certain things. And yeah, hopefully America is able to avoid having a class system. You don't want it.
This is an illegal detention at this point. You better get your shit straight. Oh, I will file a complaint. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Like, right as soon as we leave here.
Am I not human to you, huh?
Americans are inherently very skeptical of authority. They believe more so in small government and self-autonomy due to the British ruling America and, you know, being a bit naughty, a bit rough around the edges. As well, Americans are very rebellious. The formation of America was around escaping the Church of England. In Britain, on the other hand, it is different. We do have a trust in our government. It is waning currently, but typically we trust in social order and we don't really make too much of a big deal about infringement of our rights. And that's probably because of years of unquestioned power by monarchs. And again, the stoicism and the idea of stiff upper lip, not complaining too much, not making a big deal. It kind of has led to this polite submissive behavior, which sometimes is a bit embarrassing.
It's annoying because a lot of the things that we let our governments get away with, we let the people that, you know, set policy and stuff, they get away with crazy stuff because, you know, British people tend not to want to challenge authority. Like, I get, you know, that you should respect authority to a degree, but ultimately they're just people. Why should they be allowed to get away with, you know, blatant corruption, blatant embezzlement of public funds? I do wish that British people on the whole were a bit more like Americans, you know.
Careful, sir, it's hot. Oh, sorry. Might burn yourself. Yeah, sorry. Would you like some salt and pepper? Oh, yeah, sorry.
Like, you can kind of picture the movie scene of a British person, an American person dealing with authority. Excuse me, sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Listen here, tough guy. You don't talk to me like that.
My hero.
Excuse me, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, that's fine. We'll leave, for sure.
But darling, you're dead on the restaurant.
Yes, but I don't want to be rude. And so with all this, you can extrapolate these attitudes and understand different attitudes towards certain issues. You know, for instance, guns. Americans see guns as like a right to protect themselves from the government and other people. America's fast food and subsequent obesity problem has stemmed from the ideas of efficiency in business. Not wanting to waste time on food, taking too long to cook. And then you have things like healthcare and welfare. Like in Britain, we have a pretty strong healthcare system. Let's not get into that. Whereas Americans are far more reserved on bringing anything into public domain.
This is the thing. Like, there are things about the UK that we do fantastically well and that I'm very, very proud of. Like, this video shouldn't be seen as me just, you know, complaining about the UK. I just wish that, you know, we could borrow some of the things that make America such a great country. That's all. Like, I'm very proud to be, you know, from the UK.
Especially healthcare. Britain has an obsession with tradition and upholding tradition, whereas America have a strong focus on new and innovation, new products, technology.
By making the screen taller but not wider, you can see more of your content without the need to scroll. We're making scrolling a thing of the past.
And so look, I've picked apart British people and American people. I've made jokes, I've pointed out some bad things, but I want to say, and I think this is true, Americans and British people have a very deep mutual respect for each other. I think very much these days, ever since the war, we've had what has been dubbed a special relationship. I don't know if that's a gay thing or something, but whatever. As a Brit, I can say honestly, I really do love Americans. I love being around Americans. I really admire their confidence. They're so easy to talk to. They're very warm, open demeanors. British people can be very reserved at times.
Excuse me, young man, is anyone sitting here?
No.
Would you mind if we sat here?
No, it's fine.
I'm Ronald. This is Pammy. Actually, you forgot to tell us your name.
Peter.
Peter!
It can be pretty depressing talking with...
Reminds me of when I was in New York. We went to this wine bar and this older couple was sat like near us and we just had this long conversation. you know, just random, quite, you know, personal as well. And it was so good, you know, just being able to like instantly bond and talk to people that you've never met. I love that sort of thing.
British people about the future and your ambitions. Whereas Americans are all patting you on the back saying, yeah, you can do it, bro. And I think Americans do appreciate British people as well. They probably appreciate our realism. We don't really bullshit ourselves. We're very honest. We know our strengths, but we also know our flaws. Often Americans see us as well-spoken and intelligent, and you can actually see our comedy has massively influenced modern American comedy. There's a lot more awkward, dry humor in American television now than there ever was in the past. And obviously, Americans fucking love our traditions. Arguably more than us. And it leads me to a final thought, and that is about cultural homogenization. With the internet, culture across the world has sort of melted together. We're all seeing the same media constantly. I will listen to endless American podcasters telling me to go after my dreams and fix my life or something. The idea that the internet is bringing lots of different value systems together and you can kind of choose which one suits you, as opposed just the one that dominates your country. But I do wonder, are we going to see less of these interesting differences, and are we just going to become a sort of best of greatest album kind of thing? Let me know in the comments if you...
Yes, really some fantastic points made in this video. It's the cultures and the way that, you know, we here think and behave and stuff like that definitely is really deeply rooted in the like historical stuff that happened. And it perfectly just like the fact that America is made up of people who left their original countries, you know, seeking greener pastures. It really explains, like in a nutshell, why American optimism is so strong, why the American dream is such a big thing that's like encouraged. And I do wish that we had, and I think it's going to happen. I think it's already happening now because of the media that we share. Like we watch a lot of American videos on whether it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and vice versa. So I do think a lot of that American optimism is already rubbing off on Brits, and I think it's a positive thing. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.